So, welcome to the first episode of Track and Protect's Tech Talk with Tim. Thanks, Tim, for joining us. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Track and Protect.
So I am the CTO for TraknProtect. So I lead all the hardware and software engineering teams in our product development. I've been with the company for about coming up on 5 years now, and excited to be here to talk with you today.
Fantastic. So, the first topic for our first episode is data privacy and cybersecurity. Given the security breach at MGM is still at top of mind for everyone, one of the things is if it can happen at MGM while Track and Protect being a much smaller company, what is it that we're doing from a data privacy and cybersecurity perspective? So, to let our viewers know, what data do we collect and how do we protect it?
So the data that we protect, it's interesting, in our system being an employee safety solution, we protect data about the people responding to an incident and about an incident that may occur. Any of that data, though, that we collect about the responder, the contact information, so that would include like phone number, email address, that kind of stuff, or the situation, none of it is transmitted over the airwaves as far as between the button and the system. It's collected and uploaded directly into our database where it's all stored in an encrypted fashion, and it's not transmitted over any open channels where anyone can intercept it. We also, the identity of like the buttons are numeric. They're not assigned to a person where a person's name is there. It's a unique number it can't be tied to a person unless you have access inside our database that's stored securely behind our firewalls.
So for a layman's person, what I heard you say is like, so any data that's collected, let's say the phone number, email, or even let's say this button 1234 has been assigned to Allison would be stored in the cloud and be protected in the cloud. The button itself, the gateway itself that's at the property, and even during transit, that information isn't being transmitted or stored on the property or on the hardware. Everything is connected in the cloud and it's encrypted in the cloud.
Yep, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
great. I'm glad I understood that. Thank you. So, is this data then shared with any third party?
No, we do not share it with anyone. The only people that have access to it is the site itself, and that is restricted based on role-based permissions. So each particular customer gets to determine which of their users has what level of access to it, and only our support teams would have access on a need-to-know basis if they need to troubleshoot something or they're to deliver the services.
Okay, great. I know I've seen you say, we cannot share passwords internally. You've said we cannot share passwords over email or Teams messages. They have to be sent encrypted. So I know you take this very seriously. So, in addition to things like that that we do internally to protect data, what are some of the safeguards that you've put in place at Track and Protect to protect even the limited personal information, identifiable information that we might collect?
Yeah, so we follow what is termed a lot of times a zero trust principle, where to use some of the technical terms, a lot of times it's verify explicitly. That means we do authentication and authorization. Every user their identity has to be authenticated, and then they can only access data that they are authorized to do so. That's both for our customers accessing the data through the web portal and our employees accessing it. So we implement those principles. We store all of our data at rest. Anything that's stored in our database is encrypted. Any data that moves from our database out to the web portal for an authorized user to view is encrypted when that data is in motion. So full end-to-end encryption of everything. Again, all of our communication channels are done over either secure socket layers or secure. We use SSL encryption and SSL certificates everywhere. So nothing's ever transmitted over an open communication channel that can be intercepted on the internet.
That's great. And so now I know we have our SOC 2 Type 1 audit completed. And as part of that, you've also put in place other things. training. So let's talk about MGM a little bit. What happened at MGM? What fell apart? And what are we doing that makes sure that never happens at Track and Protect?
Yeah, so the MGM case was a pretty interesting one. You know, the breach, when you read about it, um, what it said was through a social engineering attack, someone pretended to be an employee, called into the help desk to get the password reset, and that's how they got access into the systems. Some statistics that are interesting: about 85% of all data breaches include a human element. About 61% of all breaches include credentials, and about 33% of all breaches include social engineering. So, what I just described to you about the MGM branch actually touches all three of those statistics, and it's how that happened. So, how do we prevent it? What do we do? Employee training is a big part of it. We can put in very, very advanced technical solutions, but there's a human element, and a lot of times it's referred to as a human firewall. They are the first line of defense. That's our employee and that's our IT staff. So we do a lot with training. Our SOC 2 Type 1 audit that we completed is all about having industry best practices, processes, and procedures that we follow. All of our employees identify themselves through multi-factor authentication. We have our users identify themselves through multi-factor authentication. We follow a least privileged access, which is only information that you need to know. So we don't grant all of our employees full access to production systems. They have access to what they need to deliver the services to our customers. And it's really focused around that ongoing education of those practices, procedures, and principles that we make sure our employees follow every day, because that's our best line of defense.
That's great. Glad to hear it. And so, in conclusion, what would you like to tell our viewers?
You know, I'd say, you know, when we're talking cybersecurity, we all have to be on our toes. I mean, this is every email you receive, you know, everything. I'd tell our viewers, always just be thinking about everything that you receive, and treat it with a little bit of caution and suspicion, because there is a lot out there that's everybody's trying to find that way in, and under the covers.
I know one thing you've taught me is that always check the email address behind who's sending it. So if it looks even a little off, check, is it really coming from that email address or is it something else?
It is,
And
dude. Yeah, always look at that. Do you know were you expecting this type of email to come in? Were you expecting this text message? It's gone much beyond just email. It's, you know, texting now. It's push notifications. People are trying to get access to your personal
QR
information through
codes.
all channels. QR
Yeah,
codes, yes, exactly.
that's
So, you know, I'd say my recommendation to everyone is just be alert and be aware.
great. Well, that's a great place to end. Thank you so much for your time, Tim. And we'll be back for our next episode of Track and Protect's Tech Talks with Tim next time.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.